But first, a story you'll see only on CBS News. State Department sources claim that serious wrongdoing by officials, including an ambassador, has been covered up. Senior correspondent John Miller's back. John, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Some of the State Department's own agents are charging that investigations were manipulated to protect careers or to avoid scandal. At least one is charging when they investigated a series of cover-ups, it was covered up. The Diplomatic Security Service, or DSS, is the State Department security force. They protect the Secretary of State, U.S. ambassadors overseas, and investigate misconduct by State Department employees. But according to an internal State Department Inspector General's memo obtained by CBS News, some of those investigations were influenced, manipulated, or simply called off. The memo cited 8 examples. Among them, in Beirut, allegations that a State Department security official engaged in sexual assaults on foreign nationals hired as embassy guards. Allegations that members of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's protective security detail engaged prostitutes while on official trips in foreign countries, and that the problem was endemic. In Baghdad, information that an underground drug operating near the U.S. Embassy supplied State Department security contractors with drugs. Aurelia Fidenison was an investigator for the State Department's internal watchdog agency, the Inspector General.
We also uncovered several allegations of criminal wrongdoing in cases, some of which never became cases.
In each case, DSS agents told the Inspector General's investigators that higher-ups told them to back off.
We were very upset. We expect to see influence, but the degree to which that influence existed and how high up it went was very disturbing.
Perhaps the most striking instance where agents told the IG they were told to stop investigating was the case of a U.S. ambassador in a sensitive diplomatic post suspected of patronizing prostitutes in a public park. The State Department Inspector General's memorandum refers to the 2011 investigation into the ambassador who routinely ditched his protective security detail, investigators suspected to solicit sexual favors from prostitutes. Sources told CBS News the ambassador was called to a meeting in Washington with Patrick Kennedy, Undersecretary of State for Management, but was allowed to return to his post.
You have a lot of what we refer to as hostile intelligence services in that city. I would be very surprised if some of those entities were not aware of the activities. So yes, it presents a serious risk to the United States government.
A draft of the Inspector General's report on the performance of the Diplomatic Security Service obtained by CBS News stated, hindering such cases calls into question the integrity of the investigative process, can result in counterintelligence abilities, and can allow criminal behavior to continue. John Miller from CBS News. We tracked down Mike Politz, now retired. He was a senior agent at the Diplomatic Security Service. He was involved in one of the cases mentioned in the IG's memo, where the order came to stop investigating. Who told you to stop?
Well, I got the information through my DS channel, but it came from somebody higher than DS, I'm sure.
According to Fidenison, when a high-ranking State Department security official was shown a draft of their findings that investigations were being interfered with by State Department brass, he said, "This is going to kill us." But in the final report, all references to specific cases had been removed.
My heart really went out to the agents in that office because they really want to do the right thing. They want to investigate the cases fully, correctly, accurately, and they can't.
Fidenison, who was a DSS agent for 26 years, was part of the IG's team that prepared the draft report and is now a whistleblower. She's had discussions about her concerns with Congress. 2 hours after CBS News made inquiries to the State Department about these charges,
I'd like to talk to you, but if you could turn off the recording device.
Investigators from the State Department's Inspector General showed up at her door.
Ma'am, I can't discuss it with you with the recording device.
Okay.
The agents were from the Office of the Inspector General. They may have been there to retrieve documents that Fidenison may have still had, or to look into the case. In a statement to CBS News, the State Department said, quote, they will not comment about specific allegations of misconduct, internal investigations, or personnel matters, unquote. They added, not all allegations are substantiated. It goes without saying that the department does not condone interference with investigations by any of its employees.
So what happened to the ambassador?
Well, the ambassador is ambassador. In that case, he was read the riot act by one of the top State Department officials and told to knock it off.
So at the heart of this, too, is that a number of these investigations were covered up. Is that right?
That's the theme that runs through the IG's memorandum that did not make it into their final report.
And what about the agents who protected Secretary of State Hillary Clinton?
So in that case, 4 of them got a 1-day suspension and were removed from the security detail, and others were admonished and allowed to stay. But I think when you measure that against what we saw in the Secret Service case, it was a lot less. I think the other thing we learned in digging into this is, allegedly, when Secretary of State Clinton asked after the Secret Service scandal, do we have any problems like that, she was told no.
Did they pursue any investigations?
Well, what's going to happen now is, and that's very important, Charlie, we spoke to senior State Department officials last week who said, look, we understand that people have different views about this, so we've asked the Inspector General, and they have agreed to hire professional criminal investigators into their inspections division to review all of the cases you mentioned and more to determine if they're being handled properly.
John Miller, thank you.
Thanks.